Hey everyone, welcome back to Buckethead, and today I've got the first video in a series I have planned to go over the next couple of videos. So, recently, the Clone Wars wrapped up its 7-season run on May the 4th, Star Wars Day, with the series finale. But this final 7th season was not everything the show had to offer. There are a couple of other story arcs that were never fully completed in their animated form, and a few have been released as unfinished animatics, like the Crystal Crisis on Utapau arc, and in novel and comic form, like the Dark Disciple book and the Son of Dathomir comics. But there are others that have not seen the light of day in any format. So that's what this series is going to try and do, shed light on some of the unfinished Clone Wars stories that we've not gotten to see in any kind of medium, and these stories have been branded as the Clone Wars Legacy. So I've been able to look and find out the production codes of all the unfinished episodes and compile them in a list so they're in order, so I can follow them story by story, summarize what we know about each one, and give a rundown on how it might fit into canon if it still can. So, just a word of note, some of these arcs, I have just assumed that some of them are 4 episodes long, because that generally seems to be the length that most arcs follow. And it also fit in nicely with the episode count, because if all of these were 4 episodes long, then it would add up in the episode total. So, just a note there. But yeah, the first arc, which was originally going to be the last 4 episodes in Season 5, which I think would have moved back to Season 6, because when you look at the production numbers, they are all out of order for the Clone Wars. Like, the Clovis arc from Season 6 had production codes for Season 4, then it was shown to be in Season 5, and it was ultimately removed from that and pushed back to Season 6, so it's all real confusing. Like, all of the Season 6 episodes were supposed to be in Season 5, so yeah, this likely would have been in the back half of Season 6 if it was made, but yeah, so this first arc is the Bounty Hunters arc, which was supposed to revolve primarily around CAD BANE and BOBA FETT, as CAD BANE trains Boba in the ways of the Bounty Hunters. It's kind of a homage to Jango Fett, who was a friend of Cad Bane's before he died. So it was going to see Cad Bane kind of mentoring Boba to kind of transition into a full-fledged bounty hunter like we see him in the original trilogy. So aside from these characters, we were also supposed to see some other familiar faces of bounty hunters throughout this arc, including Aura Singh, Bosk, C-21 Highsinger, Imbo, Suji, and Serapis, who they all had appeared in previous episodes, and most of them connected with either Boba, Cad Bane, or both. So, and a quick note, Aura Singh, they mentioned she was supposed to appear in several episodes, and she was actually supposed to die in one of them, which we'll get into that a little later, but yeah, just a thing I'd throw out there. But from this arc, we've only gotten a little bit of stuff about it. There have been a couple comments made, like the one about Aura Singh being featured and dying, but most of what we know has come from 2 animatics, which those are like early storyboard animations. They are nowhere near the same quality of the actual finished product, but I'm planning on, I'll have a link in the description below, and up in the right hand corner you can click to get a link to the unfinished animatics, and you can see the scenes from this arc as well as from the other unfinished arcs that I'll talk about in later videos. So the first animatic was going to bring us back to Tatooine, where we get to see Cad Bane and Boba at a campsite, and they're apparently on a mission searching for a child that has been captured by a band of Tusken Raiders, and Cad Bane forms a plan to let Boba be captured so he can follow the Tuskens back to their camp, defeat their shaman, and rescue Boba and the child. And Boba, he's a little reluctant about this, but he decides it's the only way, so he agrees to go along with it. And one thing I did want to bring up that, as I was thinking about this, it felt kind of interesting, was the fact that, like, when I first think of it, a child, I figured it was like some kid that had gotten captured from their homestead, but then it came to my mind, like, what if, because there's supposed to be a Tusken Raider shaman who was involved here, and it just crossed my mind, I wonder if this in any way played into The Mandalorian, and if potentially the child could have been the child from The Mandalorian, the baby Yoda, and maybe the Tuskens captured him and thought he was like, I don't know, some kind of deity or something, because they never seen a baby Yoda. But I don't know, something that crossed my mind. It's probably not it, but I just thought it was interesting because Dave Filoni worked on this, and if he thought, this will never get made, let's bring that into The Mandalorian, it's just a thing that crossed my mind. It's probably not what happened, but I just thought it would be interesting to bring up and worth mentioning. But yeah, that was all that happened in the first arc, or the first animatic, and apparently Boba eventually, in this arc, he'll get his green Mandalorian armor. It's got the paint patterns that he has in the original trilogy, and he also has Jango's blasters, which he has these by the second animatic, which, as it opens up, apparently by this time, Boba, Bane, and their group of bounty hunters, which are the ones I mentioned before. In this animatic, we only see Bosk, Highsinger, Embo, Sarapass, and I think that's it. I think by this point, Aurra Sing and Suji would have both died. But apparently what happens is there's like some trouble going on in this mining colony, and the bounty hunters go to help, but at some point, Bane turns against them and plans to use them for his own good, and Boba like stages an uprising with Sarapass and Suji. Suji gets killed, and Sarapass is captured by Highsinger, because then we see Bosk and Embo come and they bring Suji's weapons, which coincidentally, which I feel like this was what it was hinting at, Suji's blaster is the EE3, which is the weapon that Boba uses in the original trilogy. So yeah, I feel like that's like a reference or something signifying he's going to get that. But yeah, but then they bring the weapons and everything, and Boba comes, he confronts Cad Bane, and he says no one else is going to get hurt, and he's going to stop him. And Cad Bane comes down, and then all of a sudden Bosk is like, hey, we should give the kid his shot, basically saying we can see if he's ready now, because I guess it seemed like they're kind of fed up, because if Boba turned against them, they were kind of fed up with him, like the trouble going on between them. So Bane agrees, Boba agrees, and they all of a sudden start getting ready for like a Wild West showdown. Like their hands are hovering over their guns, like they're about to draw on each other, and it's like it keeps cutting back and forth between the two of them, their eyes and their guns, and then all of a sudden they both draw and they both shoot and hit each other in the head, and we see them both fly backwards. The shot knocks Boba's helmet off his head, and when it hits Cad Bane, it knocks his hat off his head, and then they both fall down. I would have to assume that Cad Bane had to have died, because, I mean, I guess he could have gotten shot in the face and it, like, knocked his eye out, but I don't know, I just feel like if you get shot in the head, I don't know how. I don't know, I feel like it would have worked, because it would have explained where Cad Bane went, because we don't hear about him after the Clone Wars. So it'd explain where he's off to. He'd be dead. But yeah, I mean, I guess he could have lost an eye and he'd wear an eye patch. I guess that would be cool. But I don't know, I just feel like it would have made sense for him to die. It would have wrapped up his story. And also would have been good for Boba, like signifying, okay, Boba is now the top bounty hunter. He killed Cad Bane, who is the only other rival for that title. So I feel like it would have made sense with that. But, and also, we, like, when Boba falls on the ground, his helmet, like, rolls into view and it stops. And, of course, like, the shot shows, like, the charred hole, or charred mark in his helmet. And smoke is coming up from it. So, and it's right where the dent is that's in his helmet. So, yeah, it would have also shown where he got his iconic dent in his helmet. So, yeah, and I feel like it would have been I feel like this would have been a cool arc because it would have gotten to show resolution to several character stories like Suji, Aura Singh, and presumably CAD BANE all would have died in this arc, so it would have wrapped up their stories, said where they were, since they were never seen again, and it also would have shown Boba's transformation over the course of the war, going from an orphan to a full-fledged bounty hunter with his Mandalorian armor and all his weapons and stuff. But that brings me to the main problem I have with this, which has to do with all the stuff that happens to Boba, and it feels almost like he got the Solo treatment, because in Solo, Han, he gets his name Solo, he gets his DL-44 blaster, he meets Chewbacca, he meets Lando, he gets the Falcon, all this stuff goes on. He eventually goes off to meet Jabba the Hutt, because that sounds like where they're heading right after Solo. So it felt like everything, and he did the Kessel Run. So like everything important that happened to Han happened in that like 1 year time frame. So it felt like real rushed, and the same thing feels like it happened in this. Not on the same level, but like Boba, he gets his armor, he gets the dent in his helmet, he takes the title of greatest bounty hunter in the galaxy, he gets his blaster, and it felt kind of like the Solo thing all over again, where everything important happens to him in this small time frame. But it would have made more sense if like it was something that happened over the course of the series. Like there's a story earlier in the show where Boba, if he went and he tried to find Mandalorian armor, and then maybe if he got Jango's armor, and then it kind of lost its shine by the next time we see him, it's all rusty, kind of like the Mandalorian's armor at the beginning of his show. And then by the end of the show, Boba would have repainted the armor to match how it looks in the original trilogy. But that's just my feeling on it. Which, like, I guess at this point there's not much they can do, but I don't know, it just felt like it would have been maybe too much, but still I would have been glad that we got to see everything wrap up for Boba and get to see him transition into the full bounty hunter that we know him as. But yeah, and another thing, which I don't feel like I'm nitpicking it, but the showdown between Cad Bane and Boba Fett, I feel kind of like it felt like it would have been a good moment to show Boba, if he defeats Cad Bane, he really is the greatest bounty hunter in the galaxy, because he defeated the only other person who was rivaling him with that title. But whenever they both shoot each other in the head, and the only thing that keeps Boba alive is the fact that he's got a Mandalorian helmet, it kind of undermines, I guess, his role and his status as the greatest bounty hunter, if only the helmet is the only thing that kept him alive. But still, I feel like they also didn't want to just be, a teenager kills Cad Bane, and then gradually Boba, he still kills Cad Bane, and he eventually moves on where he does become the greatest overall, I feel is what they're probably going for. But yeah, all in all, this would have been a great arc to wrap up the character stories and finally let us see Boba coming full circle as an accomplished bounty hunter, and get to see him almost to the state of where he is when we know him. But this is not the end of Boba Fett, because he is going to be in a couple later episodes, which we'll see him when we get to those episodes. But so yeah, that is pretty much everything about the arc, except, like I said earlier, I was going to kind of talk about how this could fit into canon. And when it comes to canon, there aren't too many contradictions, but there are a couple, and they're rather big. Because in Solo, we learned that Aura Singh was killed by Tobias Beckett after she started pursuing a bounty on Lando Calrissian, which at this point Lando is just a kid, so that wouldn't make much sense there. Also, Suji was mentioned in the Aftermath books as having a niece who she kind of coerced into becoming a bounty hunter like herself, and she did that during the era of the Empire. So the timeline also wouldn't add up there because she would have died during the Clone Wars. So, but yeah, other than that, there's not really many contradictions that I can see in the canon. So I still definitely think this could be a story, one that maybe as a novel or a comic, or if they do bring back the Clone Wars in a season 8, I think this would be a good story to have in there because, I mean, we get to see fan favorite characters like CAD BANE and BOBA FETT and get their stories wrapped up. So, yeah, that pretty much does it for the first arc of the Clone Wars Legacy, the Bounty Hunters arc, which, like I said, I'm going to kind of go through every arc. I think I have them all mapped out. The episode numbers all line up. So, yeah, we'll be jumping into them. We're going to get into new stories every video. So, yeah, hope you all enjoy this video. I'll be sure to subscribe, like, and comment so you can be up to date every time a new episode comes out. Let me know what you think. Would you have enjoyed seeing this story in some other format when we get the chance? So, yeah, thank you all for watching. I'll see you all in the next video. Goodbye.